Well, good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to today's webinar, SAP S/4HANA Transformation Without Losing Business-Critical Custom Processes. My name is Attila, and I'm thrilled to be your host today. As we all know, moving to S/4HANA is not just a standard IT upgrade. It's a massive shift that forces organizations to rethink years of daily operational customization to align with SAP's clean core strategy. But how do we achieve this without losing our competitive edge and operational agility? That is exactly what we are here to solve today. To guide us through this journey, I'm joined by two incredible experts. First, we have Martin from Mendix and formerly SAP, who will deep dive into the real operational pains behind the migration and explain why traditional workarounds often fail. Later, I will be joined by Albert Nagy, who is the Corporate Business Development Head of BKW, for an executive practical discussion on what truly puzzles them regarding the SAP project we all face. We will wrap up with an interactive Q&A session, so please feel free to drop your questions in the chat through the presentation.
Okay, can you see my my screen now?
Yeah, absolutely. Mendix for SAP customers. That's what it says.
Excellent. Thank you very much. My sincere apologies for being the reason that this webinar started a bit late. It's entirely my fault. It's not on BlackBelt or anyone else. Mea culpa. But I'll try and make up for some lost time so that we still have time for the other speakers as well. So yes, Martin de Vries, as Attila mentioned, I have a long history at SAP, almost 20 years. And then I moved to Mendix 5 or 6 years ago, actually out of the personal conviction that Mendix, or something like Mendix, a low-code application development platform, is really what SAP customers need. Because I saw over and over again that customers choose SAP because it has fantastic standard software, very, very rich and deep functionality for all sorts of industries, and that's why customers choose SAP. But as soon as you need something unique, something custom, something that differentiates you as your company from your peers and competitors in your industry, that's where things can get very complex with SAP, right? And it's very flexible. You can customize everything in SAP. But the result is that everyone does customize everything in SAP, and then you end up with a very complex landscape that is unique to only you, and you're kind of a bit stuck with it, right? When it comes to upgrading and changing and moving and so on. And that's where, I think companies should look a bit broader at what is a good solution for this custom software. Anyway. So I believe that all SAP customers in some shape or form have two challenges, right? One is to migrate to S/4HANA if they haven't already done that or haven't already completed it. There's the famous deadline of 31st December 2027. That is the end of mainstream support for ERP 6.0 Enhancement Pack 8. And so SAP has been saying for years now, like customers need to move to S/4HANA by then in order to benefit from all the innovation of S/4HANA, the fact that it runs on HANA and so forth, and to not face increasing maintenance costs as ERP or ECC, as it's often called, moves into extended maintenance and then out of maintenance altogether, right? The other challenge that customers have is clean core, right? And I would call clean core not a migration, but more of an evolution. It's something that takes time. Cleaning up your SAP system from all the customization you have done over many, many years. You can't just get rid of that customization because, as we said, that's what makes you unique. That's what makes you special. But a lot of that customization is not future-proof, right? It will break when you try to upgrade or migrate to S/4HANA. And because you have often built customization on top of customization on top of customization over the years, often built by people that may have even left your company or the partner that did the work for you. Many customers don't even actually know what exactly for customizations they have in their SAP system. And a lot of this customization may have been done 10 years ago and may not even be used today anymore, but everyone is afraid to remove it because what if something breaks, right? And we are not quite sure what to do about it. So this idea of cleaning up SAP is a big challenge for customers, right? And as you can see, these are two separate challenges, but they are interrelated, right? S/4HANA, moving to S/4HANA can be a reason to clean the core, and it can be an opportunity to do that. Say, hey, if we're moving to S/4HANA, we're not going to just move all the old stuff that we have. We're going to take that opportunity to clean things up. And conversely, cleaning up the core can be a part of an S/4HANA migration, but doesn't have to be, right? There are even customers that say, actually, we are staying on ECC. We are not going to necessarily move to S/4HANA just because SAP tells us to, but we are still going to clean up our ERP system. So when the time comes to move to anything, it will be easier for us to do so. So S/4HANA migration is a big project, right? This is an example of the official SAP Activate roadmap for an S/4HANA migration. And as you see, there are many, many work streams, many things to take care of. And extensibility, as you see here, like where the arrow is, which is kind of the other word that is used for cleaning the core, right? Rather than customizing the core, you are extending the core. Is just one of those work streams. So actually, if you look at the visual, it seems like just a small part of an S/4HANA migration. And in a way it is, because there are so many other things you have to think about when you are moving to S/4HANA as well. But on the other hand, depending on how old your ERP system is and how much you've customized it over the years, that small work stream can actually be a very big one, to the point that it can actually be the reason that S/4HANA migrations get considerably delayed or even fail altogether, right? So every customer is different in terms of how big a deal this is for them, but it should never be underestimated. That is for sure. Right, a very wordy slide here, but just to level set on what custom clean core actually means. I think I've said a lot as well. So custom code is essential. But if you have too much of it inside your ECC or S/4HANA system, right? Some customers have moved all their custom code over to S/4HANA. You can do that if you make the minimal changes to it to make sure it works in S/4HANA. But even then, if you have too much custom code in your system, in your core as right? It will not break when you upgrade or update the system. If you have too much of it, it will get harder and harder to change your system as your business evolves. So of course, the business constantly has new requirements. The world is changing very, very quickly, and you need to change your system to help your business. But this is very hard when you have lots of layers of custom code to deal with. It's also very hard just to maintain your system, right? If there is a bug, if something breaks, if you have to go through layers of custom code to actually figure out what is going wrong, and this custom code is not well documented and people don't really know how it works, it's a real problem and it's a risk to business continuity. And last but not least, custom code, again, slows down or even prohibits upgrade to new versions. Most importantly, S/4HANA, but also, of course, updates, subsequent updates as well. So SAP actually says, on the right here, you see a very important white paper. If you haven't seen this already, I strongly suggest that you download it. It's about 50 pages, and it is SAP's official guidance on how to do clean core, right? I think it's a really, really good document. It explains in great detail, the why, the what, and the how of clean core. And in a previous version of this white paper, SAP actually had a nice quote, which I put on this slide, that says, moving from ECC to S4 is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to simplify and clean up your solution. Avoid a lift and shift strategy for existing custom extensions. Don't just move the old stuff to the new system just because it's quicker. You can do it that way, right? But SAP actually recommends that you don't, right? That you try and clean up as you move to S4. That said, Clean Core also makes sense for customers who are staying on ECC, those who basically refuse to move to S4. Believe it or not, there are those customers as well. And those customers who are on S4. So maybe they did move all their old code over to S4 and they did a technical migration first and said, hey, let's get on S4 first. But then, of course, they still have to clean up when they get there. Why it matters, this is actually just a couple of screenshots from this white paper, right? SAP talks about agility and innovation and basically business continuity, right? Avoiding the system from breaking. And that's exactly what I said on the previous slide. You need to be able to change, upgrade, and maintain your system so that you can be agile, innovative, and ensure business continuity. Yeah, pretty important stuff. The white paper explains a lot about how this process works, and we're not going to go into detail here. I would strongly advise you to read the white paper. But as this visual kind of shows, there's a lot going on in this visual. But basically, SAP talks about getting clean and staying clean. And the trick is you have to do these things kind of at the same time. So on one hand, you have all the existing customization that you have. That's the bottom half of the visual, with which they call here, actually, because that's what it is, technical debt. And they say you have a technical debt baseline, if you like. And then over time, you are slowly but surely cleaning up the existing customizations and lowering your amount of technical debt, right? And they talk about something called the Boy Scout principle. What they mean by that is a good time to clean something up is when you need to make a change to it anyway. So if the business says, hey, we need a change to this functionality, and it happens to be custom code, that's a great opportunity to rethink, right, that piece of custom code and clean it, because A, you're cleaning it, and B, you're also meeting the business requirement at the same time. So it's kind of a win-win. So, but this process takes time, right? It took you 10, 20, 30 years to build all this custom code. You are not going to clean it up overnight. So it's a process. And that's why you need to start as soon as possible if you are not already on this journey. At the same time, your customer, your business is going to have new requirements as well, right? And the trick, of course, is with every new requirement, you have to build it clean from the start. Like, don't build anything that is not clean anymore. And that's what SAP calls stay clean, right? So build all new things according to the new principles of Clean Core. Yeah. And of course, the white paper talks a lot about what Clean Core actually is, right? The fundamental difference, the biggest difference is between customization that stays inside your core, that stays inside S/4HANA, and stuff that is actually outside of S/4HANA on a separate, custom code platform. Sorry, I don't know why my slides keep jumping. On a separate, innovation platform, you could say, right? And they call the ones inside, that stay inside, they call them on-stack extensions. And the things you build outside of your ERP system are side-by-side extensions, right? Of course, for everything that stays inside your SAP system, we as Mendix would 100% agree with everything that SAP says because it's their system. They know best how to deal with it. And the white paper explains a lot about that. Clean Core is inside your SAP. You can keep things inside your ERP system and they can be clean. But for what is inside your ERP system, there are different levels of how clean or dirty something is, right? And they explain what the differences are between these different levels. But the holy grail is still to try and keep all custom code outside of SAP. And this is where the only difference of opinion that we have is that SAP, of course, wants you to use all of their tools and technologies for all of this stuff outside of SAP as well. And what we would say is take the opportunity, if you are rebuilding and reimagining all this custom code, which is a big project, a big journey, take the opportunity to have a look at what other kinds of tools and technologies are out there to build these side-by-side extensions. This does not have to be done with SAP technologies, right? And of course, we as Mendix feel that we have a good solution for that. There are others as well, but don't just assume that you have to keep doing everything with SAP because they say so, right? This is a good time to introduce maybe briefly Mendix as a company. So Mendix is, as you see here in the Gartner quadrant, an enterprise low-code application development platform, right? So we are a visual application development platform. We were founded all the way in 2005, so we've been at this a long time, and we've been the Gartner leader in this quadrant for a long time as well. We have several partners, technology partners such as AWS and SAP all the way since 2017, before SAP did anything with low-code themselves. They looked at the market and decided they wanted to partner with us as their preferred low-code platform. We then got actually acquired by Siemens in 2018, so that's why you see Siemens on the slides. By the way, Siemens, of course, an industrial company. So a lot of people are like, oh, is this only for industrial companies? No, because Siemens does a lot in industry, but has also acquired products like Mendix that are applicable across all industries, right? So we do a lot of stuff in banks, in public sector, in retail, in service providers, you name it, right? We are really a cross-industry platform. And as you see, we have several other technology partnerships and, of course, a lot of SI service provider, service integrator, system integrator partnerships as well. Yeah. What is Mendix in a nutshell, right? It's a single platform, and that's crucial, a single platform for the AI-assisted development of AI-augmented applications with speed, collaboration, and control, right? So with Mendix, you build and run and manage everything on a single platform. And that is key because that's a lot simpler than using a whole range of tools and technologies and having to maintain different skill sets and different resources for all of those tools and technologies. With Mendix, you do everything in one box, basically, right? And that means you develop the applications in Mendix. As I said, it's a visual way of developing applications, and that's important because it allows the business to contribute much more directly to how applications are being built for them, right? The applications are for the business. So having the business actually be able to see what the application looks like, how it's going to work, makes a huge difference versus traditional coding. And we believe that is still true in the era of AI. I know there is a lot of excitement about vibe coding and how quickly you can put something together with Claude Code. And we are excited about that too, right? We have also built AI into our platform and we use AI as well. But we still believe that making these applications visual and allowing the business to understand what they're going to get is absolutely crucial, right? It changes the way you build applications when there is not a gap or a wall between business and IT, but when business and IT are working together. And that's actually what Mendix was created for in the first place in 2005. But it's not just developing the application. We cover the whole software development lifecycle. So DevOps of testing and deploying and operating the application. And we don't just do that for one application, we do it for tens or hundreds of applications, right? So if you take our own parent company, Siemens, they have over 1,100 Mendix applications running throughout their business, all on a single platform, all managed in a single governed environment. And that is really the beauty of Mendix. Yeah? So just to give you an idea of what we are talking about here. Again, I mentioned that, yes, there's a lot of excitement about AI, and a lot of people say, oh, AI will do everything from now on. But in case you're wondering about that, Gartner is of the opinion that AI is not going to replace the need and the value of low-code application platforms, which is what Mendix is. Yeah. So let's compare Mendix to the SAP way of developing things, right? And let's be honest, SAP has, of course, a lot of powerful development tools and technologies, and you can build everything with SAP's tools and technologies. But it's not so much about what you build, it's how you build it. That is quite different between building things the SAP way and the Mendix way. So if we look at SAP, let's be honest, there are lots of tools and technologies that you need to master, right? They have different programming models like RESTful ABAP versus cloud application programming. They have separate tools for mobile devices. They have separate tools for front end with Fiori and Fiori elements, and you need skills and resources to understand all of these tools and technologies and how they all work together in order to build applications. And that makes SAP development, even with all the latest tools and technologies, which are great, but it's kind of complex because you have to master all these different tools and technologies. There is a lot of there are a lot of visual and low-code tools in the SAP development portfolio, but let's be honest, the vast majority of SAP's development work is still based on traditional high code, right? Traditional coding techniques versus this new visual way of developing applications that allows the business to be more involved as well. And the big strength, I would say, of SAP development is that they provide lots of out-of-the-box SAP content, templates and examples of things you can build with SAP. And that honestly is fantastic. And that's, of course, because SAP can do it themselves. It's their company, it's their applications. But the flip side of that is that SAP tools and technologies are very SAP opinionated. They are focused on working very well with SAP applications, but a bit less focused on working with other applications, right? Other ERP systems and other non-SAP applications that you have in your business as well. I'm not saying they can't work with non-SAP applications. I'm just saying they work better with SAP applications. Yeah? If we compare that with Mendix, it's different, right? As I said, the beauty of Mendix is it's all in one platform, right? That house, everything is designed to work together from the get-go, and it's basically one big platform versus a whole box of different tools and technologies you have to use together. It's built with low code and visual development from the ground up. Everything is visual, everything is easy to understand, everything invites the business to be a part of the process. And while we have good integrations with SAP, out-of-the-box connectors and so forth, we are agnostic, which means we are neutral, we are good at SAP, but we're also good at Oracle and Microsoft and Salesforce, and of course Siemens, if you happen to be a Siemens customer. So we will integrate with everything and anything, and in that sense, we can be neutral, right? What that means is if you do things the way that we envisage application development, you're standardizing the way you build everything on a single platform. And standardization brings a lot of simplification as well. It's a lot easier to understand what you have and who built it and who's using it and how it works. You need a lot less skill sets. It's a lot easier for your people to learn. So if getting the right talent in-house is challenging, it's easier to train new people and so on to use Mendix and to start building things in Mendix. The next word is maybe a weird, collaborization, right? It's actually a made-up word. What I mean by that is you make application development a more collaborative process between business and IT, right? Rather than business writes what they want and then it goes over the wall and IT builds something and then they come back with something and the business said, no, that's not what I want, or actually it took too long and now I need something else. So we have to make it more collaborative between business and IT. And ultimately, you can start to democratize application development, by which I mean that you often see that there are people on the business side of the house who are quite tech savvy and who actually start to develop applications themselves, right? Maybe with some guardrails and some guidance and some help from IT, but essentially you are empowering the business to start taking ownership of certain things themselves, but always within a platform that IT manages and that IT governs. So you cannot allow the business to build whatever they like. And what that ultimately means, right, is that things go a lot faster. You can build applications 2 to 10 times faster than the traditional way. To be fair, that is happening with vibe coding as well. So that is no longer, just a low code thing. But aside from speed, of course, we have also all the other benefits of managing and governing applications on a single platform, right? IT productivity goes up. The number of applications that a developer can build per year simply goes up versus the traditional, more complicated way of developing applications. The quality of applications goes up, both technically, because a lot of quality checks are already built into the platform and ensured automatically versus traditional kind of code-based approaches. User satisfaction goes up because the business has been involved in building those things together with IT, so they're going to be happier with the applications that are delivered. And user adoption is going to go up. They're going to use those applications more quickly and more easily. And as a result, business productivity and revenue will go up as well. Yeah? So this is like the benefit of changing the way that you deliver applications to the business. Now, coming back to the SAP Clean Core conversation, right? Because that was really just a comparison of, okay, how we did things the traditional SAP development way versus this kind of new approach, this new agile approach of developing applications. You can use this Mendix approach of building applications. You can use that for SAP Clean Core, right? To start extracting all this old custom code from SAP and moving it into side-by-side extensions built with Mendix, running on Mendix on top of your SAP system. And you will get some of the benefits that I just talked about. Of course, you will get even more benefits if you have a complex SAP estate, right? With multiple SAP instances, quite possibly on different versions and releases. Maybe some are on S4 and others are not, right? And they're all customized in different ways for different business units. Using Mendix as a sort of uniform innovation layer across all of your SAP estate delivers you even more benefit than when you are just using it on a single instance, right? And you get even more benefit still when you use Mendix as a sort of enterprise application development or enterprise innovation layer across all of your core systems, all of your systems of record, right? Be it SAP, but also other ERP systems, CRM, maybe your PLM and MES systems as well, whatever it is that you have to make your business run. And what we have seen is that customers, of course, have done something similar with other layers of the stack as well, right? So at lower levels of the stack, at the cloud level, at the data level, at the integration level, companies have already adopted hyperscalers or data platforms like Snowflake and Databricks or other kind of integration platforms, or what's called BOAT these days by Gartner, business orchestration and automation technologies, as a layer to kind of unify and close the gaps between all their underlying core systems. And Mendix does the same thing, but it does it at the application layer, right? And Mendix is always the last mile to the end user. How do we make it all work for the end user? Yeah. That's essentially what we do. And you'd struggle to do this with SAP technologies because the SAP guys will be happy, but the Oracle guys and the Salesforce guys and maybe the Teamcenter guys, they will not be so happy using SAP tools and technologies, right? They'll want to use something else. And so Mendix is like a neutral platform that works well with all of these systems. So when do you use Mendix and when do you stick with SAP technologies? Well, it depends really on your ambition level, right? Do you really want to standardize and simplify and collaborate and democratize your application development? Let's be honest, not all companies see this as a real priority. There are lots of other things going on as well, and that's fair enough. So if it's not really a priority for you, I would advise that you just stay with the development that you are doing at the moment. If it works for you, if it isn't broken, hey, then fine, right? Then concentrate your efforts elsewhere. But the more you say, no, actually, the way we deliver applications to the business and we evolve our systems for the business is broken and we need to change it and we need to really change it, the more important it becomes to start looking at different ways of working, and that might mean different technologies as well. So you could start with SAP Build. Sorry, I don't know why my slides keep jumping. You could start with SAP Build, which has some low-code tools, kind of similar to Mendix, but very much the SAP style. And I would say a partial solution, but you can look at some of SAP's own tools to get a feel for how low code works and whether it fits your business. That is a perfectly viable thing to do because you're already an SAP customer, right? But what I would definitely say is if you really see this as a business priority, like we need to change the way that we deliver applications to the business, and we want to do that not just for our SAP estate, but actually for our whole enterprise. Remember that visual I showed you on the last slide? Then I would definitely advise that you look beyond just what SAP has to offer with their big bag of tools and technologies. Look at new platforms like Mendix as a new way of delivering capability to the business. Now, there are a couple of slides here I'm going to miss, but we are going to share these slides with you afterwards. These slides give you more detail into, which customers should be thinking about this and which use cases they should be thinking about for Mendix on top of SAP. So in the interest of time, I'm not going to cover this one. I'm also not going to cover this one. This is a slide about how the process works. What I will say is that Mendix itself are not SAP experts, right? So you first need to do an analysis of your SAP system about what is the custom code that you have today. A lot of it you might not be using at all, and you should just get rid of. You should not rebuild that at all or do anything with it. You should just get rid of it, right? Other custom code that you have today may actually be standard functionality in S/4HANA, and therefore you can get rid of that custom code as well. So you need to figure out, this is step 3 on the left-hand side of the slide, what is the custom code that you are really going to need in the future, even when you're on S/4HANA, right? And for that custom code, we then need to figure out, you need to figure out, but also working together with BlackBelt, which of that set of custom code is suitable to be built with Mendix versus other tools and technologies that you want to use, right? And so Mendix comes in, if you like, for the second half of the process, but you need to really understand the current state of your SAP system first. It's kind of obvious, but nevertheless, it's got to be done. Let me wrap up by quickly showing a couple of use cases. What Mendix is typically used for on SAP. So we see a lot of use cases from customers that are actually focused on customer and partner-facing processes, where you need a better user experience than SAP typically delivers out of the box, right? So customer and partner self-service applications and also customer-facing employees. We also see a lot of applications around logistics and field service. Think of warehouse scanning and warehouse execution. And this is because SAP has traditionally struggled a bit with mobile applications, right? They can do mobile applications, but they often don't always work in all situations. And mobile is one of the key strengths of Mendix, right? And then you have applications for all sorts of supporting functions, basically business workflows involving finance or master data or something industry specific. Those are, I would say, the three big like core areas, but we've seen all sorts of things across all sorts of industries. Look at all these industries where we have seen SAP customers, doing these kind of things. Yeah. We have also built some demos and templates as examples of this, so BlackBelt can take you through those. We have loads of customer examples. I'm not going to get into the details on this. This is again something for you to read in your own time. But Sibelco is a big mining and minerals company that was rolling out S/4HANA across 28 different countries. Now, they had the advantage that they were doing this greenfield, so they were coming off a non-SAP system before. So they had a real choice. Are we going to learn all the SAP tools and technologies, or are we going to learn Mendix? And they decided to learn Mendix and to use Mendix for all of their custom requirements. So from CapEx, financial things like CapEx approval and tax reporting, to their price setting process, which was a very complex process for them. Again, lots of logistic applications, mobile warehouse, mobile work order, maintenance scheduling, and so on and so forth. So Mendix is a platform that you use to solve many different problems, in a single platform, right? And the benefits were all the stuff that we've talked about, radically simplifying and standardizing things, better business and IT collaboration, higher user adoption, right? The business was really excited about what they were getting from IT, and were asking for hey, can we have a new Mendix app for this, please? Right? You solved that problem for me. Can you help me with this as well? And that's when you know you are doing good things, when the business is asking for more, right? So here is an example of a native mobile work order app. It's a really native mobile, which works also offline, because in a mining company, they have locations where the internet is not so great, right? And this was built in only 3 months, right? And I'm not talking about a POC or a demo. I'm talking about a production application. It was in production in 3 months, right? And then in the back end, right, this is for the guys in the field that are actually doing the work, but also in the back end, they built a maintenance scheduling application. This is a graphical application with a graphical plan board that helps them to manage what all their people are doing in the field, right? And I'll leave you with a quote from Sibelco: "Don't be afraid to radically simplify things," right? People might think it was crazy to implement S4 and low code at the same time, but it helped us to make our SAP implementations more successful. And that, I think, is really a nice summary of everything I've tried to get across in this story. Okay, so with that, I will stop talking, because I know there's still other people that need to talk as well, and I'll hand it back to Attila.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you for showing us the Mendix way and explaining what you see on a global level, which is a really good insight. I don't think that in Hungary you sometimes don't have a chance to see the bigger picture, and it's definitely a help. I took some notes, and it's interesting that the first part of the conversation, and I think in the next part with Albert we will have these kind of questions. It sounded like an AA gathering, because we always talk about stay clean, keep clean, like
yeah.
rehab type of conversation.
Yeah.
And I do believe that that's really an addiction. So most of the SAP customers, most of the ERP customers are addicted to the platform, and it is there because you have to keep your competitive advantage, and the only way to do that is to customize the processes, because if you don't do that, then what sets you apart? So I think it's a natural process, and the thing is, and it is really independent from Mendix, that we are in a situation when change is inevitable, and we are in shock, we are in denial, in anger, and now we are bargaining, I guess. But in the end of the day, you have to accept that the old way of maintaining and operating an enterprise and an ERP system is gone. So either you use SAP or Microsoft or Oracle, that time is gone. It's just not coming back. You have to change your enterprise operating model, and you can choose Mendix, you can choose whatever you prefer, SAP build, but you have to make it. So you have to change no matter what. And I think that's the thing which I would like to highlight. And Mendix is a great tool to help you with that. It has many advantages, but I don't want to not talk about the fact that you have to change. And so with that, Albert, I like to ask you. You're pretty much you've headed the IT of a transportation company in Budapest. I would say in many ways you're really an innovative company, because you have great problems to solve, and if you're not solving those problems, it's quite visible and quite quickly in the daily operations. So how do you tackle those? What is the real challenge for you right now for this transformation? Like, is it a technology related thing? Is it a custom code related thing, or is it governance? What do you think at BKV currently? How do you approach this issue? Is it an issue anyhow, or?
Obviously. Thank you. Again, thank you for your invitation. As I joined this webinar because I'm quite interested in this topic. So it's a big headache today. Because we are also preparing for S4 transformation. I'm not speaking as an experienced S4 customer, but I represent the organization BKV that already runs SAP ECC and HCM, the legacy HR system as well in on-prem environment. So our IT is very much keen on having only one platform. Therefore, this should be S4 for the future. So I've been leading also for the IT for almost 12 years, as I'm now responsible for the corporate business development, and we are currently leading digital transformation initiatives. And my actually daily work includes the renewal of current traffic management system, which is a quite big system. It's almost as big as SAP. This includes resource optimization, as we schedule every day some 6,000 drivers and almost 3,000 vehicles, like bus. Yeah, so in general, the modernization of operational and maintenance systems are quite useful today. So as I mentioned, the IT is very much keen on having this new platform, but when the senior management looks at this S4 HANA journeys, I think we are seeing several business pressures and dilemmas and the major part actually Martin has already mentioned, and I mean it's also coming up in our conversation as well. So what I understand actually from my technical, not that deeply in the technical part, but several migration approaches we have actually in BKV, like this greenfield plus brownfield plus hybrid plus and so on. So the greenfield approach means migrating only the classic master data and the opening balance and these kind of things, but redesigning the whole operating model from the ground up. A brownfield approach keeps the existing ECC processes and data and converts them directly to S4. So, and between these options, we are about to choosing the brownfield plus approach, which keeps most existing processes, selectively redesign the areas where S4 provides the clear benefits and migrates only the data that is really needed. Like we have a kind of already the last 5 years of history, because today we have almost all the historical data available. Because for some reasons, so for some legal reason, they have to go back actually to the 20 years old data as well quite quickly. So, and in some cases, as Martin also mentioned, you're not ready to start the full S4 program immediately. In this situation, this lift and shift approach can be used. And actually for us, SAP proposed this lift and shift approach, which is actually is not so good as Martin already explained that. So the business application remain largely unchanged, and we are staying on the ECC code base, on the technical platform and licensing model to be modernized. Okay, this buys some time for us, but I think it's the SAP's interest to immediately go to the new license.
Okay.
Thinking of this brownfield, do we have time just a few things more, or as my headache is that this thinking of this brownfield approach is that what I often explain to as a simple example that I use to my children, that first eat the main course and then you have the dessert. And this is the same principle applies to this transformation. First, complete the technical conversion, and then establish the same stable foundation. So why not start now at the digitalization and process improvement, as you mentioned, with this Mendix platform? So yeah. So this is about, and also an alternative approach actually remain as that we stay with SAP ECC platform for longer period and using third-party support. There are actually 2 big companies in the world that provide with the half price actually the long-term license support, and gives us more time to allow investments to do focus on projects that deliver immediate business value. So, but the main disadvantage, my colleagues say, staying in ECC is that SAP no longer delivers major new innovations for the platform. So that's why this, with the side-by-side extension, this is a risk that we could be able to launch these new kind of innovations in the future or not, or we have to develop everything by ourselves. So this is now this is in a nutshell, what we look right now, and that's what I'd like to ask Attila and also Martin, if what do you think? How do you see this S4 transformation challenge from technology custom to the governance point of view? Because governance is the main issue here. When it comes to this either Mendix or Power Platform or whatever other platforms. How do you see this part of?
I don't know which one of us should start to answer that, and I'd like to encourage people in the call to if you have questions, then just drop it in the chat, and we try to answer that. And thank you for this question because in my experience, but obviously everyone see it differently. It's the governance which is very tricky, and then the whole shift of the operating model that's what caused the trouble most of the time, and the reason is because you have to build an enterprise level IT, even if you're not prepared to do that. And that's where Mendix gives you a great tool set because, as Martin just explained, it's actually a platform. So it's providing you with collaborative enhancements. You can have your own IDE. You can have your own pipelines. You can do many things with the platform, and they have your access management, and then you can have your workflows. So actually, it is, as was on the picture, it is a tool set, and you don't have to start with high code type of boilerplate coding and keep up frameworks, and it's just much more easier to focus on things which matters to the business. So that's where Mendix and tools like Mendix providing you great advantage, I guess.
Yeah. From my point of view, Albert, I think you highlighted very nicely actually the 4 different options that you have, right? If you're on ECC.
Yeah.
So there's Greenfield, which is basically re-implementing, starting again, which is great if you have the courage to do that, right? Because it's kind of the risky one. High risk, high reward, right? No pain, no gain, right? So that's Greenfield. The opposite of that is Brownfield, right? Which is where you do a technical system conversion first. You just basically drag everything across from ECC to S/4HANA. You have to make some changes, but SAP does provide tools to help you with that, to be fair. So it works, it's possible. But then you have the problem of human nature, right? And I think Attila's parallel with AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, is great, right? It's like you're still drinking, really. You haven't really stopped drinking because you just brought all your bottles of alcohol with you to S/4HANA. So when you're on S/4HANA, you then have to have the discipline and say, okay, phew, we did that, but now we still are going to clean the core, right? And a lot of people are so happy when they're on S/4HANA that they kind of, it's fine, just leave it, it's working. We do something else for a while, right? So that's the challenge there, but it's the lowest risk approach. Then you have something that's a bit in between, as you said, like selective migration, right? Or sometimes it's called the blue field approach, which is where you do something a bit in between. You take some things across, but other things you reimagine, right? And SAP, again, has guidance on that as well. I think there's a different white paper specifically outlining all these approaches. And then there is the 4th approach, which of course SAP never talks about, because it's the one they don't want to hear, is, you know what, we're just going to stay on ECC. We are not going to be bullied. This is how these customers would see it. We're not going to move to S/4HANA because SAP tells us to by this date, right? We are going to make our own decisions for our business. And we're happy with what we have on ECC right now. It's working, it's stable, and we have other business priorities. So when the time comes, we move the maintenance to a third-party provider, which indeed is very, I would say, cost attractive. And then we see what we do at a later point in time. So it's a little bit kicking the can down the road as well. But if that's what if you have other business priorities, that might be the right thing for you. So anyway, long summary of what you said, Albert. My answer is I believe all these approaches are valid. I don't believe that one is always better than the other. I believe genuinely it is up to you as a business. How SAP is working for you now, how happy you are with SAP, right? How sure you are you will stay with SAP for the long term, how excited you are about the innovations that SAP is bringing, or frankly, you see other things happening that you are more excited about. So it's a very company-specific choice, and that's why you see customers also taking very different approaches. There is no one best approach fits all. And there's also, every company has a different risk appetite as well, right? And there are pros and cons and risks to all of these approaches. It's impossible to give universal advice, is my honest opinion. Yeah.
There's no one definite answer to this. This is the problem with the management. To explain the management it is kind of, because it's not, you can't just, in a nutshell, you can't just sum it and that's it.
Even SAP is contradictory, right? On one hand, you read a white paper that says Greenfield is a once in a lifetime opportunity. But at the same time, they offer you all the tools to do a brownfield system migration. So
Yeah.
that is the proof. There is no, if management asks you, what is SAP saying? You can say, well, they're saying all of these things, except for the staying on ECC. They're not saying that.
Because SAP is communicating that we don't leave anyone behind. That was the kind of main message.
Yeah. Rise with SAP, grow with SAP, as long as you stay with SAP, right? That is their message. And that's, I think, absolutely fair enough. Certainly for staying with SAP for the ERP, for the core. But what we have tried to get across in this webinar is, even if you decide to stay with SAP for the core, for the ERP, which is probably what you bought it for in the first place, it doesn't mean you have to stay with SAP for everything. You can still decide, hey, we're staying with SAP, but when it comes to custom development, right, innovating and doing unique things for ourselves, both for SAP, but also for non-SAP systems, we don't have to do it with SAP technologies. And it may make sense to look at what else is in the market, of which, of course, we are presenting here just one option today, right, which is Mendix. But I would say more generally, just be aware of what's out there, because there are many options these days.
And just to add a bit, and we are running out of time, so thank you everyone to keep it up, and we're gonna stay for a while, and we will send you the recording. So no worries if you have to go, then we will send you the links, the presentations and everything, and thank you for your time. But if you have some spare time, then please keep it up with us, because that's another interesting topic which I would like to touch on. Is if you choose the brownfield version, the real question of what is happening after the first release. So you still have your code within the system. You didn't decouple everything. Basically, you started to standardize, but obviously something left, and that's the key point, I guess. Where if you did not do the decoupling, then you will have a long list of to-dos after the first release, because you have to custom code inventories, you will have dependency analysis, you will have ABAP test cockpit scans, and then simplification item analysis. So you have a list of things which you have to take care, and those releases will be fast because and it's not SAP's like bad intentions. It's on the other way around. They like to innovate. That's the logic behind keeping the core clean, so they can release it, and the support which you pay for SAP, it comes to fruition basically, because then you will get innovation for your money. On the other hand, you have to deal with all the integration tests, all the performance regression tests, all the user acceptance tests, the transport remediation, the go live freeze, the hypercare, and so on and so forth. So that's why I'm saying that no matter what you choose, it will come. Okay, and another question. So do you think that AI will solve these app delivering things? Either if you stay on ECC or to move to SAP, because I see many people thinking that okay I will keep it like this, or I will change, but anyhow coding is much more simple. So do you thinking about using vibe coding or generating coding? And if you say so, what do you think that where will be the bottleneck? Because there's always bottleneck. It just now it's not coding.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know if Martin, you want to start, or I think as I'm speaking about a lot, this part, and that we have very many young developers, and they are quite enthusiastic to use, and myself at home as well, using very much of this kind of code and other stuff. So, but the code is generated is kind of probabilistic if you compare with the same questions multiple times, you receive, different solutions each time. So it all works, but the outcome is influenced by this underlying model and the statistical nature of this neural network. So these Mendix and other low-code, no-code platforms are quite different. So the applications are deterministic, like if we have deterministic answer or code that we get. That's I think it's very important stuff when it comes to this. I feel that the Mendix has also some kind of AI assistant with this Maya, or I don't know in detail because I've never seen that, but
we will introduce it to you. the impersonated version of Maya.
Thank you.
Yeah, we do. I think Mendix does have Maya. It's just a question. What I think it is a question that with high code you still have to have governance in place.
Yeah.
Because it's so much easier to build, and we all are happy to build things. It's human nature. We love building things, and if it's fast, then we will build fast. So that's the question. How do you see that with all these vibe coding, like? If you say like 5 years, how will your architecture look like? Where will be the hotspots? Where will be the things happening? The business tools? Where will be the capabilities lies? Is it the ERP and surroundings? Is it elsewhere? Is it like the core systems what you have?
Yeah. I mean, just my thoughts on this, and kind of on behalf of Mendix as well, right? So vibe coding helps you develop a lot of code very, very quickly, right? And it's very good at that. It's getting better at it all the time. We think vibe coding, right, or AI assisted development is amazing. What you can do, certainly when it comes to building prototypes and POCs and helping, I would say, with a lot of tasks, right? Up to now, the focus has been very much just on generating code, right? But we still believe there is a benefit to having that visual rather than just a bunch of code on a screen. Again, it's to help the business as well to understand what that code actually does, because yeah, great that AI generated a bunch of code, but you still need to understand what it did and work with it and maybe change it to meet your requirements. And the focus should shift not just on generating code and building the application, but to the whole life cycle of the application, and also managing a whole portfolio of tens or maybe hundreds of applications, right? And all of this has to happen in a governed environment. So our point of view is vibe coding is amazing. It will help with many, many aspects of all of these things, not just coding, but the software development lifecycle and portfolio management. But it still has to be done in a governed environment that invites the business to be a part of the process, right? And we don't believe that vibe coding by itself does that, right? There is a big potential for actually quite a lot of chaos and quite a lot of shadow AI, right? We used to talk about shadow IT, and now we're seeing shadow AI. So this is, I think, the new frontier. And it's not just about speed anymore, because everyone is fast now, right? Anyone can ask Claude to generate an app, but what happens then, right? That is the big question.
Absolutely, this AI without governance is kind of a liability. So I've heard it in a conference, and I think I did it for myself.
And even more so when you are talking about mission critical applications, right? So it's fun for like this and that, but when you are running your business on it, and everything that touches SAP is usually quite important to your business, you need to be pretty sure. That's where Albert's deterministic versus probabilistic comes in. You need to be pretty sure what it's doing, and you need to be pretty sure it does it every time. So That's what we hear from a lot of our customers. So vibe coding, there's a time and a place for it. We are embedding it deeply into the platform, both with Mendix AI assistants, Maya, but we're also opening the platform up so that you can use your own agentic IDEs. You can use Claude Code or Codex or whatever you like, right? We're not trying to do everything ourselves. So we believe in this stuff, absolutely, but we believe it has to be done in the right way. It has to be managed.
Thank you. I think
maybe it's a good time to for as a kind of final.
Yeah.
It's a good time to wrap up. Yeah.
That has to be done, because I really thoroughly enjoy the conversation what we do have, and I think we have to make it happen in a time with 3 beers at least, either in London or in Budapest, if you, Martin, are flying around at some point.
I'd love to.
But I think we are out of time, and I don't want to keep you away from your regular daily activities. And thank you for the spectators who were here. We were enjoyed and this whole conversation. I hope that we got through and created some questions which might be answered later. We'll send you a presentation for you. We'll send you the recording for you, and wish you a really great and happy day. And thank you for joining. And see you guys later. And really, thank you for being here and sharing your knowledge.
Thank you very much. It was very useful. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, guys. Bye.